The transgender trend is the first thing that comes to mind when reading about the exponentially growing number of bills on the topic of gender reassignment in Europe and America. In the US, the most popular states, such as Washington and California, officially allow teenagers to change their gender. Washington has even passed a law to remove children from their parents who do not agree to the gender reassignment surgery. Let's try to figure out who benefits from this. Let's take the United States, for example, and make a rough estimate of who wins on the topic of hormone replacement therapy for minors. Even at the most superficial level, beneficiaries include politicians, pharmaceutical companies, hospitals, and insurance companies. It is well known that congressmen and senators earn political dividends by bribing a percentage of the electorate with promises of promoting a transgender law if elected. Transgender and gay people are represented in the highest echelons of power in the United States, be it the Senate, the presidential administration, and other departments. What is there to say about pharmaceutical companies, which God himself ordered to make money on human health? They've participated in a global scam which not only robs the child's future, but also puts their lives in jeopardy. After all, the transition from one gender to another will allow a person to live only on average about 15 years. And then, unfortunately, a side effect of hormonal drugs is oncology, with a disappointing prognosis. Thus, pharmacists not only make money from hormonal medications, but also from elemental reagents, which are used for diagnosis in hospital laboratories, and then go on prescriptions to combat the dysphoria. By the way, medical institutions are also getting in on the action. Various hospitals, clinics, and, alas, inevitably, hospices are involved in a process of grooming a child's psyche. For all of the above, astronomical sums are allocated from the budget. Victims who've come to regret their transition by the time it becomes a high-profile case, in the best traditions of liberal democracy, will be forgotten. Whose money is laundered in this process? What business connections between pharmacists, senators, and congressmen were made are a topic for an extensive journalistic investigation. The insurance companies also participate in this Ponzi scheme, through which the state tranche passes to ensure the implementation of this madness. Therefore, money for hormone replacement therapy flows uninterrupted through propaganda of the so-called freedom of choice through the internet, television, even computer games and educational toys. With the right approach from a family doctor, often without the participation of a psychologist, the number of children wishing to change their gender using hormones is increasing. Following the example of Canada, the Netherlands, Norway, and in some US states, doctors can perform gender reassignment surgery on children without parental consent. Everything that is happening suggests that those in power can control and regulate the populations of their country. But in states with a high Catholic population, the issue of marriage and fertility for people of non-standard orientation has been resolved. Who would have guessed? Thanks to the efforts of the Pope. Let us recall that in October the Vatican has officially allowed transsexuals, including people who have completed a transgender transition, to undergo baptism, be godparents at baptisms, and witnesses at weddings. That is, one of the commandments of the Old Testament, be fruitful and multiply, has ceased to be relevant for the papacy. In our region, Yerevan is keeping up with the times. Under Pashinyan, transgender people have begun to speak out even in the country's parliament. Now it becomes obvious why the EU and the US call Armenia the bastion of democracy in the Caucasus. The Pandora's box has been opened.